Just last week, the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, the PCPSR, an independent institution and think tank of policy analysis and research based in Ramallah, released new polling of the Arabs of Gaza and Judea and Samaria, known as the West Bank, what's known as the Palestinians. They polled them on a number of issues, and I want to share a few of the results of this poll and then talk about some of the implications that this polling has for the way forward in the Gaza Strip. So first, they asked them about support for October 7th. This is the sixth time that the PCPSR has conducted polling since October 7th, and they asked respondents from the West Bank and the Gaza Strip what they thought of Hamas's decision to launch the October 7th attacks. They asked them if it was a correct or incorrect decision. This number has been in steady decline ever since October 7th. It was at its height in the mid-70s shortly after October 7th, declining into the 60s in early 2024, and it reached its low point at only 50% of respondents saying that October 7th was the correct decision in May 2025. Well, in this poll, conducted just last week, for the first time since October 7th, we have seen the number rise. 53% of respondents, up 3% from 5 months ago, said that they felt that October 7th attacks on Israel were the correct decision. Before we go on, be sure to go into the description of this video and download the free ebook that's available there. It is a collection of articles, of columns that I've written that really provide my analysis since the beginning of the October 7th war, and it'll really give you a window into what we've been through since the war began. So go ahead and download that. Now back to the video. Now they also asked respondents if they believed that Hamas had committed the atrocities that we've all seen, that have been seen in the videos shown in international media on October 7th, such as killing women and children, the rapes, everything else that was done on October 7th. The overwhelming majority of respondents, 86%, said that they did not believe that such atrocities were committed. Only 10% said that they believed them. Now, what this means is that despite all of the destruction that has come upon the Gaza Strip ever since October 7th, all the displacement and the people who've been killed and the supposed starvation and genocide, despite all of that, there is still strong support for what happened on October 7th, and of course, a denial that atrocities were committed. Now, when it comes to the popularity of Hamas, they asked the question that we've been asking a lot in some of our recent videos about the disarmament of Hamas. So when they asked respondents whether or not they support or oppose the disarmament of Hamas in the Gaza Strip in order to permanently end the war, an overwhelming majority, 69%, said that they were opposed. Only 29% support that. Now, let's think about that for a moment. Think of the question. Do you want to disarm Hamas in order to end the war in the Gaza Strip? More than 2/3 of respondents said no. They would prefer that the war continue and that Hamas retain its weapons. They simply do not want Hamas to lose its weapons. Now, the implications for the plans that we've been talking about for the last few weeks to disarm Hamas and President Trump's pledge that Hamas will be disarmed are enormous. I mean, obviously, who's going to disarm Hamas, especially considering the fact that the overwhelming majority of the population does not want Hamas to disarm. So this makes things even more complicated than we realized. And this speaks to the issue of general support for Hamas. Satisfaction with Hamas's performance, their approval rating, as it were, is actually on the rise. It's up to 60%, up from 57% in May. It had been declining since the beginning of the war, but now in the last 5 months, we're seeing Hamas's popularity rising. Now, they also asked respondents if their support for Hamas has increased, decreased, or stayed the same during the war. Now, 18% of them said that they've always been strong supporters of Hamas, and therefore their support hasn't increased. 19% said that their support has increased significantly, and another 17% said that their support for Hamas has increased somewhat. And what that means is that a whopping 54% of respondents have either always supported Hamas strongly strongly or have seen their support increase throughout the war. Now, on the flip side, there were 16% of respondents who said that they've never supported Hamas and that has not changed. And another 22% of respondents said that their support for Hamas has decreased during the war. The conclusion from all of these numbers is that over the past 2 years, we have seen a gradual growth in support for Hamas rather than the opposite. And this conclusion is true both in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, and in the Gaza Strip. Now, we also see this growth in support for Hamas when respondents were asked which political party or movement they would support in the event of an election. The largest percentage of any was Hamas, with 35%, followed by Fatah, that's the ruling party of the Palestinian Authority, at 24%, and then another 9% who mentioned some other third parties, and 32% who said that they do not support any of them or don't know. Now, 5 months ago, Hamas's support stood at 32%, which means that Hamas has actually seen its support rise by 3% over the last 5 months. Now, beyond Hamas, they also asked respondents their opinion of other regional powers, other Arab states in the region, and what they thought of them. And the highest grade went to the Houthis, 74% approval rating for the Houthis among Palestinians, followed by Qatar in second place at 52%, followed by Hezbollah and Iran as the most popular regional actors. Now, this poll showed a significant rise in satisfaction with Qatar, Hezbollah, and Iran. They also asked about their opinion of Turkey, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, where the numbers came in significantly lower. Turkey came in at a 42% approval rate, Jordan at only 34%, and Saudi Arabia at only 27% approval. Now, what that tells us is that the more radicalized, the more anti-Israel the state, the more popular among Palestinians. The Saudis are very unpopular, whereas the most popular of all is the Houthis. And that tells us something about who we're dealing with. Now, they also asked about a two-state solution. And here I'm going to quote from the poll. We asked about support and opposition to the establishment of an independent Palestinian state on the borders of June 4th, 1967, in other words, the pre-Six-Day War boundaries, one that would be demilitarized with East Jerusalem as its capital, with limited land swaps so that it can live in peace with the state of Israel with international guarantees. Sounds like a dream come true for the Palestinians, a Palestinian state in the 1967 borders, Jerusalem as the capital, international guarantees. A majority of 53% of respondents were opposed, with only 44% in support. Now, a little later in the poll, they came back and they asked the two-state solution question again in slightly different language. Polling agencies often do this. And this time they asked the respondents if they agree or disagree with the following sentence. Quote, I support a Palestinian political agreement that guarantees an end to the war, an end to the occupation, the establishment of a demilitarized Palestinian state, and the normalization of relations between Israel and neighboring Arab states. Again, sounds like a dream come true. You got your Palestinian state, there's peace, the state is demilitarized, and Israel has normalized relations with Arab countries. 2/3 of respondents were opposed. Only 31% expressed support. Now, what does all this mean? What we see in this poll is that there is still great support for Hamas. There is support for what Hamas did on October 7th. There is opposition to Hamas laying down its weapons. They're still the most popular political entity among the Palestinians. And there is widespread opposition to any peaceful resolution that includes living side by side in peace with Israel in a Palestinian state. And this all means that we need to wake up and face the truth. And it's a truth that no one wants to talk about. Throughout this process, throughout the discussions of Trump's 20-point plan and everyone talking about the day after in Gaza, we've been told a lie. And the lie we've been told is that the people of Gaza are oppressed by Hamas, they hate Hamas, and we need to liberate the people in Gaza from Hamas, who actually wants to live in a Hamas-free Gaza Strip. And what what poll after poll shows, and what this poll shows us very clearly, is that that is not true. The truth is that the population of the Gaza Strip is supportive of Hamas. They embrace that genocidal ideology. And what that means is that in order for there to be peace, in order for Israel to live in peace, in order for there to be an end to conflict, the only solution that will work will be peace through strength, meaning Israel's strength. Only by Israel taking full control, full military and security control, full governing control of the areas where this population lives, and imposing a new education system on it, imposing a demilitarization on it, and taking full Israeli control for security is the only way that there will ever be peace and security between Israel and its neighbors.